One of the great things about me, Ricky, and David, that's my two younger brothers, our relationship with Elvis, I think he loved the fact that we didn't know who he was because everybody else that came into his life, they knew who he was. We didn't. And so that's how we grew up. The night we got to Graceland, this was in March of 1960. We arrive at Graceland. It was at nighttime, and we walk in the back of the house, and Vernon said, "Where's Elvis?" They said, "He's downstairs shooting pool." So we go downstairs, and we go down the stairs, and then we take a right, and then all I saw was just a big crowd of people. Clear as he's standing at the end of the pool table, and I'm looking at him. He's kind of neat, you know. I'm picking up this great vibe from him as just as a kid. And he smiles, and he puts the pool cue down, walks over. He says, "What do we got here, Daddy?" He said, "These are your new little brothers, Elvis." And he reached down and picks all three of us up at once. That's how small we were. I was 7, Rick was 6, and David was 4. He said, he picked us all three up, and he's looking at us. He said, "Daddy, I always wanted a little brother. Now I've got 3. And that was the beginning of an amazing journey with him. Generosity is world famous. I've seen him give cars and money to people he didn't even know. There was one time I was just sitting around the house, and I was probably about 17 or 18 years old. So this was about 70, 71. He said, "Let's go for a ride, Billy." And that's one of the things he loved to do when he was home in Memphis, is just ride around Memphis. That was it. This was his hometown. He loved to just, see how it was growing and just kind of get out. And fans, the people here in Memphis, they accepted Elvis as their own. That's Memphis's own son right there. So whenever they saw him, they didn't bother him. They just waved to him or something like that. So we're riding around this one day, and we're just talking about football and life in general. And he sees this homeless man walking down the street the opposite direction. So when he sees the guy, he makes a U-turn. He says, "Hand me my wallet." He said, "Hand me the money in my wallet." But I had to carry it for him because when I say Elvis's wallet, it was so thick you couldn't fold it. It had that much money in it. So I said, how much do you want?" He said, "All of it." So he took it all and stuck it down between his legs, and we pulled up to the gentleman. And he rolled the window down, and the guy just kind of looked, and "Mr. Presley?" He said, "Yes, sir, but please call me Elvis." He said, "Elvis." He shook his hand. He said, "I've seen all your records. I've listened to all your records, and I used to have them all. And I've seen all your movies." He was just talking about, how big of a fan he was. And Elvis said, "Okay, well, that's enough about me, sir." He said, "What about you?" He said, "What's going on with you?" He said, "Well, I'm a little bit down on my luck right now." He said, "But, it's going to change." He said, "I'm walking down here to the unemployment office right now, and, I'll get a job here real soon." He said, I know the Lord's going to take care of me, and, things always work out." And so Elvis took the money and reached out to shake his hand. And when he did, the gentleman shook his hand. It was startled. He jumped back a little bit, and he saw all that money. "Oh, Mr. Presley," he said, "No, I told you to call me Elvis." He said, "Okay, Elvis, I can't take this money." He said, "Like I said, I'm just down on my luck. It's going to change." He said, "Sir, your luck changed today." He said, the guy started crying, and I get a little emotional when I think about this because I've never seen this kind of generosity before or since. And the guy just looked at him and said, "God bless you, Mr. Presley." He said, "Sir, he already has." We drove away. I'm going, "Elvis, I've never seen that before." He said, "Billy, what's the use of having all that money unless you share it with everybody?"